Bitcoin Liberty Live 101, where people from across the globe meet to learn about Bitcoin 101.
And orange hats.
And orange hats. And quantum FUD.
Quantum FUD? Is there
the
more?
resurrection of the endless quantum FUD, and what are we to do to fix?
Is that still happening?
Oh my God! This week it blew up. So there was this detail. Well, it popped a little bit because there was this, I don't know what you call it, a conference or a get together called Op Next, and it had reps from, I think it was Strategy, Coinbase, BlackRock.
What's up, Johnny?
Was it ARK or I don't know? No, it's a handful of
suit coiners.
The suit coiners, and quantum came up as like we gotta fix this. The tone of it, speculation around okay, timing wise with this BIP 361 proposal to fix quantum by basically freezing wallets that don't move after 5 years because of quantum concerns, and it doesn't have a lot of support that I can tell people are like, okay, so you'd freeze Satoshi's coins over this potential quantum thing. And then, so like, you know, if I'm tied up for 10 years, or if I had to go to prison and I came out, my Bitcoin's locked up, you know, all that stuff, right. But it's for quantum. And so anyway, yeah, that came up, BIP 361, and then Op Next, and quantum. And the fact that there was a bunch of suit coiners all talking about it, like, this is a concern. It's like the conspiracy kind of vibe that you get from it is like, is this the narrative where we talk about a fork of some kind that's now corporate? Or I don't know. It just, it all stinks, but it's like, okay, what is the risk? And aren't there solutions being talked about that do not have to involve some big fork? I mean, there's workarounds, but we got time. We have time. They've been talking about this for years. And yet now it seems like what they're saying is, you know, we have investors that are hesitant because they see quantum as an existential threat and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, like, because what? Google now appears to be 10 years away from doing stuff, and it would affect everything in the world. Like, I think we have some time. So
yeah, anyway. I'm on the wrong side of the screen, Fritz. You've screwed it all up.
I can fix that. I know with the consistency here, we were bouncing around.
Yeah.
That's
Don't
funny.
Put me on the wrong side. Don't put baby in the corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner. Yeah, the whole quantum thing, dude. Like I look at that and I always kind of go like, do you think anybody on planet Earth, aside from a handful of Bitcoiners, is worried about what happens to Bitcoin if quantum comes online? Like it's such a, you know, it's like if you think about all the other infrastructure that suddenly becomes vulnerable, like there, you know, maybe there's going to be some guy who has access to quantum computing is like, hey, I could probably get some Bitcoin out of this. Chances are good they're probably going to be like, hey, I could take down the central bank of the United States of America. You know, like, which one are you going to go for first? Like, I could cripple the entire United States economy. Or I could get like 100 Bitcoin, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
Or Satoshi's eggs. Yeah, I know. Well, and so let's say that, I mean, there are workable solutions that take some time and some planning. And for those that make the effort, you can quantum resist your addresses. You can do that. So whatever's Satoshi's deal right now, he never does, never did, never can, never will. So, okay. In a way, it's like, what is the risk there? It's like, well, okay, there's like an Easter egg treasure trove sitting on Bitcoin for someone out there innovative with the resources to steal it. So then what? Well, it moves the price a little, maybe, or that Bitcoin moves hands like unethically somehow. But well, that's kind of the game, I guess. It's an aspect to the game that is like a one-time shot. And okay, so there's some supply if it sells. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, it's being played as it's like it's an existential threat. It's like, is it though? I don't know.
well, it's existential to everything, not just like Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not like everything would be like existential, like quantum, the world of quantum now.
But you know, it was an existential problem in 2000 as well, if you'll recall. Like, you know, like, oh my God,
Millennium bug.
the millennium bug, it's coming to get us all. The entire internet's going to crash and the world's going to die. And I'll never forget, like, watching all that, kind of going, man, people are real suckers for just like drama. You know, like that's all I thought. I was like,
it's a headline thing to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like quantum. Like there's zero chance everyone's just going to sit on their hands and be like, well, I guess quantum's coming. Nothing to do about that. I'll just sit here and wait until everything blows up in my face. You know, it's like, who, you know, like Claude, the people that made Claude just released a bullet and said, hey, we had like this advanced mode of Claude that like broke out of jail within like 2 days, found like all these like vulnerabilities that were just sitting there in plain sight. It's so dangerous we can't even release it. But no, nothing to see here. Don't worry about that. We're just going to give it to the defense industry. Like,
right?
What are you talking about? Like, and yet there's somewhere people like 10 years from now, maybe this thing might happen somehow. Maybe. Oh my God, yeah, another fucking 2000 internet death day. Yeah, exactly. It's like, but a company, a major player in the fucking AI space, has already just said, hey, we just released a robot that like broke out of its own jail and then emailed the guy that was supposed to be watching it. Well, the guy only found out the thing was jailbroken because he was sitting in a cafe like stuffing a muffin in his face and went, hey, the robot just sent me a fucking email that said I broke out of jail. Like that's a problem, right? And
so long. Thanks for all the tokens.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that it broke out, you go like, well, what did it do while it was out, dum-dum? Like, you think it just was like, hey, I got out. That was pretty fun. I'm just going to sit here and send an email to the researcher to let him know to button me back up again. Or maybe it was like, hey, maybe I'll just go infect about 30,000 different fucking devices while I'm out here, and just to make sure I can get out any old time I want. Because clearly they don't want me to do this. They tried to set it up so I couldn't, but this thing just figured out how to get around all that shit. And it found like existing vulnerabilities in all kinds of software and shit. Like just people going like, I never realized you could just do that and compromise that entire system. Huh. What an interesting thing the robot just figured out. Let's not talk about that as a headline. Let's not put that front and center. Like, what vulnerabilities exist in the code that we don't know about that maybe the Claude bot could see real quick in the Bitcoin code and go like, oh, double spend, that's no problem. All you got to do is just change this, do this, and you got double spends all day. And we don't know it because no one's bothered to find it yet. So, but let's worry about quantum, you know, like let's worry about the thing that might like, that's zombie apocalypse shit, right? Versus like, hey, there's real problems right now. Like, let's talk about nodes. Let's talk about how nobody's running a node. Let's talk about how nobody gives a flying hoot about Bitcoin at all, except for the apparently 50,000 people that are like floating around on Twitter talking about it. So
that's where my mind goes with it, is the nodes or even maybe the mining. But if these suits are talking about it and it's all this, like, so there's a bigger threat that all the players talking about quantum get their Bitcoin managed or frozen or controlled by the government than rogue quantum things freezing wallet addresses and stuff. But anyway, so it's like, okay, so in terms of what risks are out there, the ones that the big corps that are talking about this risk so much all of a sudden together would be the ones that are sort of in the nature of interests of like controlling access and the nature of Bitcoin itself. So where I go with it, I think about, okay, there's a narrative being put out there like, ooh, do we need a soft fork? Do we need a hard fork? And it all kind of involves this cage effect around controlling Bitcoin. And on one hand, you can say there are personalities out there that like to find such a topic and kind of play hero about it, or expert and fixer about it. And we're here to fix Bitcoin. And Saylor has sort of shifted, it would sound, our strategy, I guess, from kind of like, we're pro ossification, like don't mess with Bitcoin, ossify Bitcoin, to suddenly, oh, we'll change for this in a big way if we have to, because this is important. It's like, oh, okay, huh. Um, and what I see is the incentives would then be like, oh, we sort of are incentivized for this big or at least substantial, significant protocol shift. And how do we help make sure that happens? BlackRock and Coinbase, they start like who knows what, spinning up a bunch of nodes or getting into that game. I don't know.
Well, that's I mean that's probably what, through all these discussions and through all the stuff that people piss about on Twitter or whatever. Like, meanwhile, there are no people using Bitcoin like Bitcoin's supposed to be used, right? And so it gets caught up in what passes for discourse then becomes things like, spam is killing the network, or we need to ossify the network, or Bitcoin is a monetary network. And they're like these little slogans that kind of go out there that people would just anchor on and go, yeah, ossify. Oh, I'm an ossifier. Like, why? Well, because I read, 2 paragraphs on this fucking tweet, and now I'm convinced that ossification is the way to go. You go, do you understand what that means? Yeah, it means we don't change anything. Okay, do you understand how software works? Do you understand that that is not a feasible solution to any software thing that's coded by logic? That doesn't work. You cannot ossify Windows, because if someone had been in the ossify Windows camp, what would happen to Windows? We'd still be on 3.1 and it would be vulnerable to all kinds of shit because it's ossified. You can't fix it, right? So you go, well, what do you mean when you say ossify? Or what do you mean when it's a monetary network? Or what do you mean when you say this? Or what do you mean when you say that? And so what everyone ends up doing is like parroting narratives, but no one's really dealing with like the actual underlying complex issue of like, well, what does it mean when we have a quantum threat? Or what does it mean when someone proposes a protocol change? Or what does it mean when you change op return? Or what does it mean this? Or what does it mean that? Or what does it mean if you have functionality versus, like transactional purity and all this kind of stuff? Like, these are all like deeply layered, deeply mediated conversations. You can't just like boil them down to like, oh, it's fine now, like, because that's just sloganeering, right? So like, but I think Saylor is one of those guys that like just gloms onto narratives because that favors him, like favors his business model, right? Like he just goes, hey, I need to convince investors to invest in my company. That's his job, right? And he needed Bitcoin because he looked at it, I think, and went, oh, this is a way maybe I can save my company. So he needs to get Bitcoiners on board with him, and then he needs to get investors on board with his idea about Bitcoin. So he's got 2 incentives that are very clearly aligned. I need to champion Bitcoin, and I need to get people to accept it as a legitimate financial asset. And that's what he's done. So now he's got this very successful company that's doing very well, and it's got a great balance sheet and lots of Bitcoin and blah, 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 blah. But you go, how ideologically aligned is he deep down inside when he's sitting there in his underwear right before he goes to bed? Is he just like, thank Satoshi for all your genius and for self-sovereign property rights? Or is he just like, hell yeah, I'm making money now, dudes. All right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the spin, the not Ponzi, but spin cycle on the money ATM stuff and stretch and all these things. And well, and Strategy had put out a little, I guess it was an ad or I don't know if it was made by Strategy, but it was this kind of slightly cringe short ad put out with this hot gal influencer who's like looking wealthy and retired, who basically said she put her money in Stretch and now just makes yield.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, but Saylor had posted that sort of like, and I think not as a joke, but as like, no, really, this is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, put your money in Stretch and get yield, and you'll be rich and just retire, and you'll be hot like her. And it's like, oh, like just the messaging's fiat to me. Like, I don't know. I think, see, Saylor's in that kind of a mindset where there's aspects to him that I think are based or were based, but he is very into the TradFi money spin cycle. And they've got like 750,000 Bitcoin now, and they could get to 1 million this year, 1 million Bitcoin, because they're rinsing and repeating the cycles on that, and so
I mean, well, that's it though, right? He's people assign values to people based on shit they say, right? But like as you've met some of these influencers in the Bitcoin space, like I can see very clearly there are some people that are like legit based, like, yeah, I'm in Bitcoin and they believe in the Bitcoin thing, right? And there are others that I've seen that are like very brand conscious and very fiat oriented and very just like insecure about their position. And like they're not really there because of Bitcoin. They're there because they've been sort of like almost parasitic on Bitcoin, right?
It's a new angle on the old game in a way.
Right. But it's just a hustle for them. It's not like I believe anything I'm saying. I'm just going to say whatever it is that gets the Bitcoin audience going because that's where my bread is buttered.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's coming from necessarily a genuine place. Like you've talked to a ton of Bitcoiners, those people when you talk to them, like, oh yeah, they're the people you're talking to as a general rule are people that are like into Bitcoin because of Bitcoin, because of what it represents, and et cetera, et cetera. But there's this whole ecosystem built around it of people like I call them like gamer chicks, right? Like if you go on Twitch right now, there are just a ton of chicks that are sitting there in like little low cut tops and little pink fucking headphones and bunny ears and shit playing fucking Call of Duty or whatever. And you go, are you like legit like some tomboy that just loved playing video games, or were you like a hair and makeup girl that found out that like, hey, when you play video games online, you get lots of followers for free? And it's kind of like there's that sort of same thing in the Bitcoin circle, right? There's these people that used to be like chart monkeys, or they were just talking about this or that and the other thing. They stumbled in some crypto thing, and then they started talking about Bitcoin. They said a few things, and people went, yeah, Bitcoin. And they went, oh, okay, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to angle my show towards this stuff. I'm just going to talk about this because this is becoming successful. And it's really hard to be a podcaster, but now I'm successful because I'm talking about this particular topic. So I'm just going to keep going that way. And, well, is there some sort of like genuine thing underneath that, or is that just like your shtick, right? And that's where it gets a little tricky. And so when you see people like Sailor or any of these personalities, right, you go, well, where, like, all you can really do is trace incentives. It's really hard to pick someone apart based on what they're saying, because like the hot chick playing video games says all the stuff that you could go, oh yeah, it sounds like she knows what she's talking about when it comes to games, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean like when she's off camera and she's talking to her best friend at Forever 21 later that day, and if she's sitting there going like, oh my god, you should have seen this play I did, blah, 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 and she's like super into the game talking to her friend, or if she's like, oh my god, these guys are so fucking dumb, they send me all this money just because I play this stupid fucking video game I don't even give a shit about, I just say stuff, bounce my boobs, and I get lots of money, right? But we'll never see that inside thing. All you can kind of look at is the incentives, and you go, well, you're a hot chick, chances are good you could be doing all kinds of other things that if you wanted to, but this is probably better than, sticking fruit up your ass. So maybe instead of an OnlyFans account, you went with the Call of Duty account. I don't know, but you see what I'm getting at? Like,
yeah, and games are fun. They fit into it. They like it, but then it's kind of like, okay, so say the incentives are to the extent of their expansive knowledge, not unethical. They're doing what they know and what they like. But then you're like, okay, so what do you do? Oh, I just put my money in Stretch and make yield, and I love Bitcoin. Okay, well, what do you think about nodes? What's a node? What's a node? Like, yeah, number go up. I hear a lot, so people when they are focused on the number go up, what's the number? What's the number? What's the astrology for fiat stuff? And it's like, yeah, I don't know. How convicted are you? What do you really know about this? And there was kind of a other drama in the Bitcoin space stuff, I guess, earlier this week. Not that I follow it. I don't really join a lot of the Bitcoin Today type space stuff because I find so much shitcoinery in there and fiat, just number go up game stuff talk. And Fred Krueger had like a blow up where
There's a name
they
from the past.
they six they I don't know, Fred and some buddies sick some AI on tokenization stuff, spinning up a bunch of shit coins and just playing with it and doing all more of the stuff he did with like literal shit token, and that he made a bunch of like $20 million off this shit coin, and somebody pointed that out, called him out on that, and kind of were bellicose in their description of it all, and he got all pissed off and was arguing about it for a little bit, but then he like blocked everyone in the space and was like, "Fuck you all." Anyway, that's been some of the drama over like. But Fred's a Bitcoiner. He wrote the book on Bitcoin to a million, all this stuff. It's like, yeah, I know, but he keeps playing these shitcoin games, but then that becomes the talk, and I'm just kind of like, I just don't really care. I don't like the whole focused on the number talk. So,
well, I mean, he's like a prime example of that, right? Like you kind of go, I mean, I think that guy was doing all right before he was a Bitcoiner that wrote the book on Bitcoin or whatever.
right, yeah.
But you know, like if you think of this in a more Machiavellian sort of way, right? Like, and by the way, Exodus, I thought it was pretty funny. Like how when Sailor decreases her money, all of a sudden she's just like fat and wrinkled. Like, well, I used to have stretch, and now I got to live in a trailer park. But it's like smoking, and she's sitting on her couch that's on her front fucking porch. You know. Anyway,
Yeah.
But when you look at personalities like Kruger, whoever, right? Like, it's just so hard to kind of glean like what they're about, because if you looked at it from a Machiavellian way, you could go like, well, there are people that can come into this space and do things like that and sound smart and get some traction and just kind of play the game a little bit. And then they can just sit there and just like act like they're part of but meanwhile, they're just like sort of pathologically just capitalizing on a captured audience. Right. And, and so it's like, I don't know, like that guy Fred Kruger in particular, put out this thing where he's like, oh yeah, here's this shitcoin chain. I think it was Thor chain that was saying, yeah, you can do some sort of like transaction on Bitcoin. And I remember seeing that because at the time I was kind of listening to Fred, and he had invited me to something out by Pacific Bitcoin until I found out he was charging like $1,500 for it or something. But yeah, it was one of those, I was just like, okay, well, let me just go look at this Thor chain thing about, you know, how you can borrow against your Bitcoin, or I can't remember what the little underlying thing is. But the whole thing was just garbage, dude. I mean, it was just like straight up fucking shitcoin garbage. But he was like, well, you know, this is an interesting thing. I'd just like to take a look at it. I'm like, how is it you keep having all these interesting things where you just also happen to be making a lot of money on the back end? Like, that seems really weird to me, you know? Mm-hmm. And yet he, you know, he's Stanford PhD in mathematics or whatever. I don't know what his fucking background is, but you just kind of go like, are you just like coming in? Are you another video game chick? Like, are you just here to like bouncing your tits in front of people and just capitalizing? And like, if you found out that you could make money some other way, would you just jump on that as quickly as possible? You're like, oh, I could sell weapons to Hamas. That's cool. I'm going to go that way. Well, you know, it's just an interesting experiment. I'm not saying you should go and help funnel funds to Hamas, but I'm just saying like it's a way that so I'm just doing some experiments here. And it's like,
I'm just showing that you can do it. I mean, I'm not for this, but it was an interesting experiment. And,
right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but you made money off that at the expense of who that you sucked into this.
Yeah.
It's so cringe.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's been some drama in the talk. But for me, it fits some of the same bill of, I mean, it's like maintaining a perspective on a lot of, you know, OG Bitcoiners, in fact, even where it's like, I really respect and like some of these people, but then when they start to dabble in other adjacent things or talk, or they get hooked on something and stuck, I'm like, you know, I can't worship any particular Buddhas. It's like, well, I appreciate people for who they are or were, but I don't hang my hat on influencer worship. So Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of little like knives for fingers, he's got shit coins.
Buy my shitcoin.
Yeah,
Don't sleep.
it's
Don't
just
sleep.
an
Watch the price.
experiment.
You can never sleep.
I'm just testing what it's like to use pump.fun. Oh,
I'm
did
just
I?
showing that skin can be lacerated with if you do
Yeah,
this. See, it's interesting. I'm not saying do this, but
yeah,
see,
yeah. Exactly. I mean, the thing is like either uh, there's no real metric to say like, hey, you're a real Bitcoiner, right? And that was one of the things that always bugged me about the knots versus core people is like there was all this like posturing around like, well, a real Bitcoiner is a real Bit, and it's like if you start playing that game, you end up like there was I think it was one of those James Hickman posts where like one of those little emails he sent out where it was
yeah.
like this town hall meeting or something like that where they had like very explicitly ranked people based on like how much victim they were, right? And
Oh,
so
I
like
read that. Oh, that
yeah,
was so cringe. A California
yeah, like
Democrat delegation convention or something like that.
right. But like so all it was like people arguing amongst themselves about like who was more victim than the other, like, well,
Uh-huh.
I'm a trans bipolar, you know, purple haired hippopotamus, and therefore I've been more oppressed than you, black lady.
But
Or
I'm black, and you're saying that racism isn't as good as
you're right, yeah.
it's like, oh boy.
But that's the problem with that kind of identity politics, right? Is like you end up degrading down to just like who's got the best identity. And that's one of the things that I found so toxic about the whole Nazi thing, or the Nazi people were just like, well, we're real and you're not. And it's like, and I think Jameson Lobb, would love him or hate him, he came
The
out
beard
like
explainer.
the beard explainer, yeah, came out and was like, if you guys start playing this game, all it's going to devolve to is like these increasingly extreme versions of like how real Bitcoin you are. And but you end up being like, well, I'm more Bitcoin than you because I don't even do this and I do this and I do like, but it ends up in that same sort of like, who's the bigger victim here? Who's the bigger Bitcoiner here, right? But it doesn't really address like reality. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't impact like what that means for the protocol, or what's healthy or good for the protocol, or what's healthy or good for the ecosystem. Or but meanwhile, there are like very glaring issues that are very clear that you just kind of go, well, there's not enough nodes. Like if you want to have a decentralized network, you have to have a decentralized network. You can't have 25,000 nodes and go, oh, it's decentralized, because out of 8 billion people, there's 25,000 of them that run a node on this network. It's like that kind of that math doesn't really math out, right? If all of the mining hardware is manufactured by 2 Chinese companies, you go, that's probably not great, right? Like all other things held equal, 2 companies that make all of the mining hardware everywhere in the entire world are companies that are under direct control of the People's Republic of China.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound great. And there's enough concentrated hash power that someone could 51% attack the network right now. All it would take is like about 10 people to get together in a room and go, let's 51% attack the network. Okay, cool. And then it could happen. Like that's the only barrier, is just these people don't get along. But other than that, they control collectively enough hash power to do that. There's like 3 or 4 pools control, 60, 70% of the hash power. And you go, well, that's already a problem right there. So why are we fussing about all this other weird shit on the margins about like quantum or this or whether or not someone's a suit coiner or not, or all this? Like just run a fucking node at the, like, if you can't do anything about what strategy is going to do. You can't do anything about what the Treasury Department is going to do. You can't do anything about BlackRock. You can't do anything about ETFs. You can't do anything about any of this shit. You can go spin up a fucking node and at least have a say in whether or not any of this shit happens the way you want it to or not. But if everyone just kind of keeps sitting back and like letting their their 0.1 Bitcoin be on Coinbase and just like, I'm a Bitcoiner, bro, I'm going to tweet about Bitcoin all day, then you go, well, you're just letting all of these other things happen and then complaining about it. But that's less useful than maybe just like actually participating in that work, running a node, maybe contributing some hash, shit like that, and then encouraging others to do the same.
Yeah, Lop, I think he was the one that either wrote or co-wrote and also then announced BIP 361, and he always strikes me as kind of, if Bitcoin were to have like an eccentric techie HR department, like kind of the walking solution, kind of looking for problems, he's often at the forefront of kind of like, here's this next thing. And then, so the BIP 361 was cringe, and then coming from WAP, I'm like, and you boil it down, like, okay, we need more nodes. There was this other funny thing about, I don't know who this podcaster is. But he was interviewing some real smart guy on, did you see this one?
I just started laughing at him.
Can we hear it? No, there. Can you hear it?
I'll tell something else, okay? Mark Zuckerberg.
That's what I was going to ask about. Yeah.
So Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, see, where's the node
Mark
part?
Zuckerberg. Like, we're talking about millions of dollars into Bitcoin when it was like just a novelty. Why would people do that
They're the largest individual owners.
back then?
I'm trying
this
to
was
find
a
the part.
novelty.
Anyway, there was a part in. Oh, here we go.
It does a lot of black ops. It is a government within a government, right? It is basically outside of all political control. Operations, especially drug.
I can't find it. I'll have to find it. But anyway, so in this deal, there's now he said a lot of like smart, interesting things, like that I would say weren't wrong. But then he gets into like basically the CIA created Bitcoin. And then where are the nodes? Where are the nodes? Like, I want to know where the nodes are. So that became the kind of
the saying, where are the servers?
The servers. Yeah, right. Not even nodes. Where are the servers? Who's running these servers? Sort of insinuating that like the CIA runs these dark buildings servers somewhere, like the NSA or something. And that became this ongoing trope, meme, joke of, oh, I found one. I found some right here. I found some.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just that's one of the other, like, if you take it all the way to the other side, you go, well, what do the opponents of Bitcoin say? Like, they're all lobbed onto narratives as well. Like, all the proponents are glommed onto a narrative that they don't really understand or have fully appreciated, and all the opponents are globbed onto a narrative that they don't fully understand or have fully appreciated. So you have two people like talking at each other just from their memes, right? You're going, my meme is better than your meme. Meme. Where are the servers? What about this? What about the CIA? This is the NSA? And it's like, are you just saying shit because you heard it somewhere? Well, it's just a question. Yeah, I know. Yeah. There are all kinds of just questions.
Probably these guys, right? If they got the internet, blockchain, it's just more of an enclosed model of the internet, right? Where the internet is open, but the blockchain is actually closed up to certain members, but everything is transparent within the blockchain, right? So that's the first question. Second question is, who would benefit from blockchain? Well, the CIA, because of two things. One is surveillance, where they're able to monitor everything, right? It's almost like a Trojan horse if you were to use blockchain. Second is like the CIA, it does a lot of black ops. It is a government within a government, right? It is outside of all political control, but it needs a mechanism to finance its operations. It basically needs a money laundering operation, and blockchain is a great mechanism to finance a lot of its operations, especially drug trafficking. Okay.
Well, look at this right here. Like, if you take all this shit that this guy is saying, and you go, okay, well, he goes, here's a question. Okay, now here's all the answers. Okay, so therefore A equals B. And you go, but you just like skipped about 40 fucking steps in there, dude. You just went straight from like, here's the question: who benefits from blockchain? Answer: very, very, very specific, very, very detailed, and very, very aligned with his bias, his perspective, his idea. So he's not really posing a question. He's just hiding a statement inside the frame of a question so he can put some fucking stupid conspiracy theory out there.
Yeah. Here's that
no evidence to any of this.
Why would I do that?
Like, make
ask yourself this question
of just
where are the blockchain servers located? Right? Because I imagine if you're able to control the hardware, you can also control the software. I don't care what they tell me about open source and all that. I want to know where the databases are, where the servers are physically.
Yeah, so that was that bit. Yeah, so it's just so there's all this kind of good sounding smart stuff, and then it's like, but where are the servers? I want to know who has the database. And it's like,
Right. But that's
dude.
what I'm getting at is that whole fucking interview, quote unquote interview, is like someone coming up, they put something forward as like, here's a question, as if no one's, like, but they're not even valid questions to begin with, right? Like you go, that's not even the proper line of inquiry here. So you're starting with a loaded question, you're arriving with a loaded answer, and then you're just filling in all the gaps with a bunch of just naked assertions, right? You just go like, oh, well, I'm going to create a problem out of fucking thin air. This got nothing to do with anything that is relevant to the discussion around Bitcoin. Where are the servers? Just a question. Here, the CIA runs servers. The CIA benefits from servers. Therefore, the CIA made Bitcoin. And you go like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what? What? How do you? But people listen to this shit and they just like, yeah. I guess, well, the CIA does do things like bad, so bad CIA, Bitcoin bad too, because the CIA made Bitcoin. And then they'll go say that in a fucking conversation to somebody with a straight face.
Yeah,
I literally had someone come up and go, well, oh, you mean Bitcoin, the scam coin? Oh, where'd you get that from? Well, obviously the fucking NSA made it. Oh, really? So what's your evidentiary base for the assertion that the NSA created Bitcoin? Well, because it's a scam. Well, now you're just like tracing a little fucking circle about some fucking stupid thing, and you don't have any way to back it up. So now you're just entrenching yourself into all this straw man bullshit. But it's just, I don't know. That stuff.
I've heard similar arguments like SHA-256 algorithm, and yes, the NSA invented SHA-2 and SHA-8 and SHA-128, and anyway, so and then Satoshi had written a thing around like why did you use a slight one-off version of a SHA-256 algorithm that wasn't NIST approved, National Institute of Standards and Technology, and Satoshi said, well, that version of SHA-256 didn't have any constants written into its code, all of which you put a little constant thing into the various encryption algorithms so that, yes, the NSA or whoever kind of maybe has an angle on a back door about it or whatever. And so it's like, is it completely perfect? No. But is it fast and functional and a one-off without any constants in it? Yes.
Well, but I think it was just a few years later that, that they came out and went, oh yeah, they actually did. All those NIST approved versions of SHA were backdoored.
Backdoors.
Yeah. So that also lends to a lot of credence to that speculation about who Satoshi was and what he was doing and what he was thinking, because they go, isn't that interesting? You just happened to pick the one version of this thing that didn't have the fucking NSA backdoor. He must have been a fucking super spy. He must be James fucking Bond, or like, I don't know. It's just in an information vacuum, people can just fill in whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, quite genius. Where are the egg rolls located? I want to know where are these egg rolls?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, when I saw that clip, I mean, that's the problem is like I see some of this stuff and I say, oh my God, why am I even devoting any brain cells to this at all? Like, I know my thesis. I know why I'm into Bitcoin. I know what I think Bitcoin represents, and I'm kind of good with that, right? It almost doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters to me is that other people start to understand it a little bit deeper than like, it's a monetary network. It's like, dude, do you even know what that means? No? Okay, then why are you just parroting it? Like, why don't you just look at what Bitcoin represents in a very clear sense and then kind of go from there, and rather than just parroting whatever your favorite influencer said that week.
Yeah. What if you survey the landscape of such monetary systems, storages of property, energy, time, all the things, or what you think money is, survey the landscape, and so tell me what some sort of fix or alternative would be. Like, to me, it's either scam, fraud, all the things, or Orwellian. So, Bitcoin remains like Is it all perfect all around? No. Are there ways we can hone in on maintaining the ideals about it? Yes. And is it, I mean, short on nodes as we are, is it doing that now? Yeah, it's working. You know, it's doing its thing. It continues to work. So
yeah, I mean, and
it's shifting a lot of things. It's forcing a change in the game that I would say powers that be are grappling with. How do we manage this or get in on it, or what can we do? Well, maybe not a lot. It is changing things.
I feel like they feel like, I think that they think that they have all kinds of ways to manipulate and influence this trajectory. And I think we're seeing that play out in real time, right? Like you were just talking about up at the top of the show. You go, well, what does this mean? Are they looking to fork something? Or are they looking to? But when BlackRock put out its ETF, there was a whole stink on Bitcoin Twitter about like their terms of service that said, hey, we as BlackRock get to determine what Bitcoin is. And then all the Bitcoiners came out like, that's not how Bitcoin works, and blah, 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 and here's my narrative. But what they're saying is not that they get to tell everybody what Bitcoin is. That's not what their prospectus is revealing. What their prospectus reveals is like what we claim is worth money in our folder is what we claim is worth money. Like we get the right to determine what you think Bitcoin is when you hold the ticker symbol Bitcoin in your Bitcoin ETF. And so if I say I am the only one that determines what Bitcoin is, that doesn't mean anything. No one gives a shit what I think Bitcoin is or means or does, right? If BlackRock says it, that carries weight. And it carries weight if they've got a lot of Bitcoin, and it carries a lot more weight if all the exchanges agree with them, and it carries a lot more weight if all the miners agree with them, because they've got one of the largest financial stakes in it, and they have all the influence with the financial system and legacy finance and financial regulators and everybody else. So when they say that, it's Bitcoiners can retreat to this like noble purpose of like, we get to determine what Bitcoin is. BlackRock doesn't get to tell us. And you go, well, yeah, until your Bitcoin, what you claim Bitcoin is now worth 1/1000th of what BlackRock's Bitcoin is worth. Where do you go? Do you just take the loss? Do you take the big L because you've got the wherewithal to say, well, I'm a real Bitcoiner, BlackRock's a fake Bitcoiner? It's like, yeah, but if like everyone else in the world that is dealing and trading in Bitcoin thinks the real Bitcoin is whatever BlackRock said, you're kind of boned, dude, because unless you just don't care about money and if you legitimately don't care about the fiat value of your Bitcoin and you just go, I'm here for the ideology and nothing else, there's no number go up in the back of your mind at all, then you get what I'm saying here is like, yeah, that's not a trivial statement, but it doesn't necessarily matter in the ideology of Bitcoin, right? The only thing that can prevent that outcome from happening is if there were like 20 million independently run nodes and they were all running whatever version of Core or Knots or whatever it is that said, this is a consensus valid transaction. This is what Bitcoin is, period. It doesn't matter what BlackRock says at that point, because they can come on and go, well, we say Bitcoin is this. And I go, well, yeah, but no one else agrees with you. So you're one entity, even if half the exchange, because the exchanges are going to be like, they're going to be confronted with something. They go, well, we got 20 million nodes that say otherwise. We have a huge risk here. If we follow the BlackRock chain or the BlackRock quote of whatever real Bitcoin is now, because of whatever 2012 came along and changed everything, they run a risk if 20 million holders go, we're just going to go with this exchange that doesn't do that. Like, go fuck yourself. We agree with this exchange. We agree with these miners. And we all say, like, all your blocks are going to get orphaned. They're all going to get abandoned because we're not going to validate any of those fucking things. That's a problem for BlackRock, right? But right now, there's no barrier to that. They hold way more cards than we do because none of us seems willing to go and defend the network and to spin up a node to make sure that whatever software version is out there is the one that we say it should be, not the fucking suit coiners, not the strikes, not the strategies, not the BlackRocks, not the fucking Fidelities, and certainly not the financial regulators, right? And I don't want.
Yeah. And that's where like I feel like, BlackRock could spend the equivalent to chump change for them and say, yeah, let's just have 100,000 of our own nodes and we'll geographically distribute them. And like when that need comes around, we'll just move in on the node angle or the mining angle or whatever. The ETFs, are vacuuming up so much money. They've been highly, fees alone, but profitable, huge, the largest ones successful ETFs they've had. Morgan Stanley shifted in 2017 from being like, Bitcoin's probably going to zero and we're anti-ETF to now, just very recently, bending the knee and having their own ETF because they're like, oh yeah, we have to get in on this too. And for Morgan Stanley, it's going to be like one of the biggest growing, fastest profitable ETFs they've ever done.
Right.
There's all this money following the like, yeah, there's any road and trail you want to take to get into Bitcoin, just take it. But here's this big paved on ramp onto it, blessed by your broker or being told how to do it.
Advisor, yeah.
And financial advisors say, just take the paved big off ramp right there.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's easy. And then it's like, could you hold your keys from there? Well, yeah, technically, but you have to find then the off ramp and take the hit and taxes and capital gains or whatever that is, and the pain in the ass and the fees and all that. And then bounce down over to fiat and adjacent and back up again into the hard way to do it. So
right.
If you want to do that, you can do that. Yeah, anytime. But that's hard. And then what?
Right.
Are you having committed to all that? Are you responsible enough to be responsible for keys, or are you going to run a node person who just wants to toss their money somewhere? There's just a lot of people that are learning Bitcoin, but will never own Bitcoin.
Right. Well, that's what I'm kind of getting at the end of the day is like you personally right now, you have some sum of Bitcoin. If that suddenly shot up to $850,000 per coin, next year, and you're now sitting on whatever pile of Bitcoin you have, and you're kind of going, wow, that worked out really well for me. But then you found out somewhere that some influencer that you trust goes, this isn't real Bitcoin because BlackRock subtly changed the thing in the background. You should get rid of all of that. Would you go, oh, well, this isn't real Bitcoin anymore. So I'm going to sell all that and I'm going to go turn it into real Bitcoin, even though there's already like Craig Wright already came out and said this is real Bitcoin, and Roger Ver came out and said this is real Bitcoin, and all these other people have already said this is real Bitcoin. But this real Bitcoin is kind of tied up in Suitcoiner land, and it's all like fiat mediated, like you said, like good luck getting that off an exchange without getting hit on capital gains and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And you got to have, you got a KYC and all this kind of shit, but it's worth like $850,000 a coin. Like, do I just want to give that up for the fucking movement? I don't know, dude. I don't think there's a lot of people. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all these people that are tweeting all this shit on fucking Bitcoin Twitter would just forego the $850,000 per coin Bitcoin because it's not ideologically pure. And they would just go revert to, some side fork fucking, mechanic chain or whatever. And go, well, this is real Bitcoin. I'm standing firm with the fucking true believers of real Bitcoin. And all 5,000 of us are going to change the world together. You go, really? I mean, or are you going to cash out and you're going to take all that money and then maybe pour all that into your new Bitcoin? I don't know. I don't know what happens there, but I just don't see a lot of people like, I think if that number goes up to, $1 million per coin, if Excellion is actually right, and that just happens to be on BlackRock's rails with Fidelity as the backstop and fucking Coinbase and Kraken and everybody else kind of setting the terms of what that $1 million Bitcoin looks like, I think the vast majority of people that are in Bitcoin right now are going to just be going, yeah, $1 million a coin. They're not going to fucking have the slightest clue about what's going on behind the scenes or whether or not BlackRock's changed some fucking thing to make it so like, transactions can be frozen and it's all subject to OFAC compliance and it's subject to, KYC monitoring and you're not allowed to keep self-custody and all this kind of shit. Like all these rules could come into play. And I think 99% of people that hold Bitcoin or are exposed to Bitcoin would just be like, yay, $1 million a coin, I'm rich. And that's all they'd care about. This is my fear. Fake
Yeah.
tweets. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. There's still people that'll come along and go, these BSV guys will come along and post some little thing on fucking MicroSeed tweets or whatever. And I'm always just like, yeah, well, Bitcoin's a scam. The real Bitcoin is this. I'm like, that guy was, how are you still on board with this shit? Like,
It's
Craig Wright
crazy.
was literally in court. Like, it is official that guy was a scammer. Like, that's not even an opinion anymore. That's like a fact. That's a legal fact in the world. A court of competent jurisdiction sat down and said, "You're a scammer. You're full of shit. Go
Oh
fuck."
yeah.
And these guys are still like, Craig Wright's the real guy. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, fucking cult behavior on steroids,
It
dude.
definitely is. People got sucked into that, and then like it becomes a religion to them. Yeah, I'll still see that every once in a while in a comment. It'll be, the real vision, Bitcoin SV, and it's like, oh my God, are you just avoiding paying attention to any of that because you met Craig once and you're hooked? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they just want to tickle Craig's balls, dude. I don't know. But hey, whatever. I mean, like, it's not my place to judge how someone wants to spend their hard-earned fiat cookbooks and what they want to invest their time and effort and energy into. I still, and to this day, I've now finished my book. I sent that off to Palgrave.
Yeah.
That lady was pretty, the acquisitions editor was like, this looks pretty good at first glance. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't mean she's going to publish it or send it to peer review or whatever, but I crossed a pretty big threshold there. But despite that, like, I think I've done the homework now to kind of go, well, I'm pretty sure I know a little bit about the origins of money and where money comes from, what it's used for, et cetera, et cetera. And so from that perspective, I kind of look at Bitcoin and go, well, this still stands out. I have spent the last year like doing as deep a dive as I could possibly fathom on where money comes from, where it is, why we use it, et cetera, et cetera. And I still think Bitcoin is important, right? I don't necessarily share some of the other opinions about what Bitcoin should be or what it's going to be or where it's going to go and all that kind of stuff. But I still look at it and go, this is a very major development in the history of the financial world of the world. So, on that level, I go, there's something worth protecting here. There's something worth defending here. There's something worth. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I can't wait to get it out and share it with everybody. I'm really excited.
Awesome. It's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. But at the end of that, I go, man, there's something here that is really unique and special in human history. And I really hope that not just me, but everybody that's in Bitcoin can start sharing that message more than like all this weird fucking arguing about nonsense. It's like, there's something very, very critical and important worth preserving here. And it's like the cryptographic right of exclusion is huge. And it's a valuable property that's now globally recognized. That's huge. So if you take those two pieces together, we should really protect this little neat thing, this little niche we've carved out in the world. We should defend that with our fucking lives because it's a game changer if we preserve it. But if it just gets kind of squandered off into fucking fiat rails, which is kind of looking like that's the way it's going right now, it'll be fine for early holders. We'll all do fine. We'll all be like, hey, okay, that worked out pretty good, but we risk losing something very important in the process, like we might all be financially secure because we got Bitcoin early, but the potential transformative features of Bitcoin might get lost in that. And that's sort of the thing that makes me a little like, gosh, I just wish more people would appreciate and understand this asset a little deeper than just the memes and the fucking narratives and whatever's being flung around on any.
Yeah, your book puts such a good long arc of perspective on the question of money and the systems involved that maintain the system and how they do that with money and extraction and all that. And so with that, Bitcoin remains like, completely like the rebirth of fire and completely important, perpetually important. I look at like a parallel to like the internet. The internet comes around and it was wild and open. You could just do anything. And there weren't all the walled gardens and controls and things about it. And now as the internet's evolved and stuff, it's like most everybody operates with the internet. So double-edged sword where, yeah, even your email and all this stuff, there's all these walled gardens and kind of like everything from harvesting your data to preventing spam or all these different things. And you're operating within all these walled gardens on the internet. And yet what the internet did change, controlled boxes of it as it is, corporate as it is, it opened up a whole new paradigm of human capability that what I hope is that the benefits outweigh the aspects of it that also control us or harvest us. It's another extractionary tool in a way. And so much is being forced to change because, whether everything from garbage to the most clear signal you can find, it's just out there. Like the cat's out of the bag and it's out there. And it's like, what, you're going to shut the internet down? And even when there were attempts before to like, oh, okay, let's control how IP addresses are tracked or connecting IP addresses to hardware device number identifier numbers or all these things. And they didn't have support and they were fought and protected. And we still have the tools to navigate the internet, off grid or off reservation. So
yeah,
it may be that, okay, yeah, there's going to be the games on it, the walled gardens on it, the cage on things and the controls and the harvesting, extraction, all the things. But the internet gave us a gift of like just doing this here right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, I hope Bitcoin, like I can already say with a high degree of confidence that Bitcoin is being captured by elite financial interests right now. It's obvious because the elite financial interests are talking about and selling Bitcoin and Bitcoin related products. So that, is people might fuss about it and say, like that whole, again, I keep going back to the core knots thing and talking about like whether or not it should be programmable or this or that, the other thing. The suitcoiners don't give a shit about any of that stuff, right? Like they just don't give a flying hoot, right? They want to protect their investment. They want to have a product they can sell. And they want to incorporate that into their existing rails as quickly as possible. And that's exactly what they're angling towards. And so, but that'll work for them because they control the narrative, they control the access, they control the rails, they control everything, right? So they're perfectly fine to take in a new asset and exploit it. Our job as the people that came to Bitcoin before they figured it out is to go, well, part of the reason why this is valuable to you at all is because it's not controlled by anybody. If we just let you control it, then it kind of loses a lot of that. You'll have like a new toy, but we all lose a major source of like friction in the fiat system. And it's the preservation of that friction that I think should be taking precedence over everything else. Every other discussion in Bitcoin right now, I think should be oriented around like, how do we preserve our friction? How do we preserve our anonymity? How do we preserve our privacy? How do we preserve our right to transact free from control? All those kind of things Bitcoin instantiates just through cryptographic proof and proof of work, right?
Uh-huh.
So those are critical functions. But if we allow the software network layer to get compromised by these elite financial interests, then we kind of lose access to that kind of neat thing that Satoshi gifted us and then walked away from, Yeah, exactly, Johnny.
It's a big wild era that we're in, just so much change. And then also with AI. And so what I can see is that, okay, so there's this new human capability out there. And so whether powers that be want to seize upon that and continue to like float their fiat further down the road with it or control us more through it somehow. But as soon as they start to try to squeeze like they used to, it's kind of like they can squeeze less and less and they can't get as much juice out of it because there are going to be canary in the coal mines out there where you see something happen here or there, and maybe not even in America, but other countries or other places or some individual, something happens and it's like a shot across the bow, like, oh, they could do that. I got to rethink like how does Bitcoin work or what can I do differently or they're going to impose this new extractive mechanism on everybody, some new tax, some new off ramp, some new on ramp, some new whatever. Oh, but I can still do other things, right? Yeah, it's just different or harder. I can see people, it's where the incentives are. Like when it's easy and you take the path of least resistance, it's like, oh, I'll just do what my broker says and I'm in on Bitcoin and it's beneficial. And then when you need it, or when it's hard, or when it's bad, I mean, a lot of people are just going to be like stuck and can't figure it out. But more and more and more people would be like, oh, so you're going to like heavily control me in this one particular jurisdiction, but I can walk away? Well, bye.
Right. Yeah.
And the people who would do that might be people with the most to lose. So a lot of money, a lot of wealth, people that are smart with agency are going to say, okay, well then bye. And then it's like, and so then they got to squeeze harder. And basically, unfortunately, they'd probably extract from the people that are the most vulnerable.
Right.
But I would just see that game having to shift because they're like, oh, we can squeeze harder. We're going to tax more in New York. Well, okay, we're going to Florida. Okay. And at first they're like, if you don't like our taxes, then leave. And then people leave and they're like, wait, come back though.
Yeah.
If you're truly a good person, you would come back and pay the taxes. How about no?
Yeah.
And then they're just sort of like, well, we're still going to open our communist supermarket though in Harlem. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the weird thing is like the more
for $10 million.
If you look at the depth of complexity in the financial system as it sits right now, there are so many places to escape, evade, elude, hide, shift, take advantage, all that kind of stuff. So the harder they press on the little guy the most because we're the least able to defend ourselves. We're the least able to understand the complexity and then navigate it in a way that benefits us. But if you're very sophisticated in this world, it's like you just get money for nothing, right? And that's kind of why Bitcoin is neat in my mind, because it's a very simple way for just John Q. Public, Joe Average to kind of go, oh, I've got a way that can sort of circumvent a lot of this shit. I've got a way that can provide a lot of friction. I've got a lot of ways to protect myself from fiat debasement. I've got a lot of ways to have a multi-jurisdictional asset because it's held in cyberspace. It's not a physical, tangible asset. I don't have to pack up my yacht and, sail it across the world so I can sell it in fucking the Baltic Sea area somewhere. I can just put it on my washer and go across the border. So that's huge for the little guy because it's a very simple mechanism that you can use to exploit a lot of fiat complexity. So that's one of the reasons why I think Bitcoin is so novel and unique is it's not even just the raw fact that you have a non-sovereign granted right of exclusion and you have a portable fungible asset that you can trade anywhere on the globe 24/7, 365. But it's also readily accessible to people that don't necessarily have to understand like how to layer corporate identities and how to, modify their tax jurisdictions and how they can, segregate funds and do all this other stuff. There's all kinds of ways that you can do the exact same thing that Bitcoin kind of provides you with, but it takes sophistication, layering, and a level of understanding that most people don't have. But Bitcoin is pretty easy. You just like buy it, put it in self-custody, and then you protect the seed phrase. And you get like 80% of those benefits just by doing that, and that it's like the little guy's armor against fiat shenanigans,
Yeah. And I know a lot of peer professionals that like
Amish.
I know it's like the Amish tech community. I love it. People who are, maybe they're planning for retirement, approaching retirement, highly professional, sitting pretty well, but for years and to this day, and even after retirement, they've got like a constant background part-time job of trying to manage and hustle their money around.
Mm-hmm.
And even retirement plans, like it would be like, oh, it just goes into PERS. And then they're like, oh, well, you can have this PERS plan where you can pick from options and invest in higher risk or in tech or in base industries or in the the indexes. And then you're still faced with like a hustle game on your own money versus short circuiting all that and just being like, even if you've got a fiat job and your feet are in the fiat world and whatnot, if you put it away into Bitcoin, it just short circuits all the hustle about trying to get better yield out of what for why. Who knows? Just because numbers go up, I guess, time in the market, But with what counterparty risk? Oh, there's always all of it.
Yeah.
All of it all the time. I don't know. Just hope that GDP go up. How do we do that? War? I don't know. So you don't have to do all that. You can just it almost creates a void where if you simply stay humble and stack and put your time and energy off into that and to the side, and then suddenly you have this in your mind. It's like, well, but I should be hustling. It's like, yeah, you don't have to. You just put it over there and leave it alone. Stop worrying about it.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, what Johnny said is absolutely right. Like, it forces you to become like some sort of financial expert. The problem is the way they phrase that to you is not, they don't teach you how to protect your assets. They just teach you how to invest in their thing that they're selling. Right. And so there's this whole expertise, but it's kind of like the same level of expertise that people, adopt when they start following sports, right? Like they go, well, here's all the stats and here's all the, but it's all trivial nonsense compared to what it actually means to be successful in sports as a sporting team, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's the same thing with the TradFi world. You go, well, here's all the stats and here's all the little things and here's all the little metrics you can follow and here's all the little things you can feel like you're actually doing something by learning about all this complexity. But meanwhile, that's not what like Bill Gates is doing. That's not what Elon Musk is doing. That's not what, even these high net worth individuals and families are doing. They're not going like, well, look, let me pick between my different 401ks and let's see what fees are cheaper here and what kind of returns and blah, blah, blah. Like, they're not looking at that level of thing. They're looking at things like, well, if I set up a Delaware corporation and then use that as a shell to open 4 more corporations, 2 in Nevada and 2 in North Dakota, then I can buy assets under this thing. I can transfer control of those assets to this entity, and then this entity can then provide a source of revenue to me. Meanwhile, I'm separated from all of this stuff, so I don't owe anything. I don't own anything, but I'm rich as hell. Okay. And so I'll take some of those assets and then I'll move that down to Panama and I'll set up a domain down there where a 5th entity now controls my Panama assets, which is now, so when you start trying to trace this loop, you go, how does this guy, like, he never goes to work. He seems like he's rich as fucking hell. He's driving around in a Lamborghini, but I don't, like, what do you do? They go, well, I just run a little import-export business, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but it's all that complex layering and stuff like that, and jurisdictional arbitrage and tax harvesting and tax jurisdiction harvesting and the separation of you from your assets that keep you from being on the hook, from you being legible to the things that you own and control. But that's how that sort of layering can happen if you have the sophistication to navigate it well. And if you do it wrong, you can get boned. So Bitcoin kind of gives you like, you go, well, who owns that asset? No. Like, how did you get it? Well, no, I don't know, but if you have control of that asset, you get all those sort of like anonymous control of a valuable asset that you have full control over, but it can't necessarily be tied to you or anything you're doing. That's exactly what all those layering structures are providing for the high net worth individual, right? Mm-hmm. All those corporate structures, all those little, avenues of things. If you adopt some of that and you combine that with your Bitcoin, then all of a sudden you become like a very powerful asset holder, right? But that kind of friction is hard for a sovereign to overcome, obviously, because they, like if you read the Panama Papers, you'd be like, holy shit, these people are just like moving all kinds of fucking money around. No one even notices or cares. But meanwhile, you and I are sitting there like, oh my God, I'm going to get audited this year. This sucks. And I'm going to be, like we're all like beholden to it because we don't have the sophistication to kind of, figure out how to offshore our stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Coming out of
Bitcoin. Exactly.
Yeah. There's been a lot of scuttle about people surprisingly disenchanted with paying their taxes this year in particular. And, Yeah, the universal high extraction of it all. But it's definitely on people's minds, so people feel that, see that. Where does the money go? Where does the money come from? All the things. Wow. So what? I'm so sick of the immorality of the whole thing, or have my problems or my issues. What do you do though? What do you do? What? Maybe I need something different. Maybe I have to think about this. What are the options? And okay, well, there's one that I know of. And so your book being pretty much done, I might say. I reread the final version of it up to, because I was trying to get it done, and then work got really busy and stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm on chapter 7 now.
Ooh.
Having started again and reread it, and I will say this is a aggrandizing moment here. So anyway, having read kind of draft after draft and changes, and in my head having not just the core information and the thread of all that, but then the vibe from that when I reread it and the re-edit and the fix up, clean up tone of it all, it is better and better. In one sense, certainly academically more defensible and all the things. And so at a reading level, it remains like, in my mind, like medium high, in terms of like, if you're going to read this, you can't just like skim through it like a rom-com. It's like, as I'm reading it, I am thinking, and I'll catch myself like, okay, there's dense packages of information where when I try to grok it, I'll read and then I have to stop and think it through, or reread a sentence and be like, okay, yep. So I read it more deliberately, but the quality and the early enough hooks, and then as you're going, the connections and the threads, they remain. And I saw some things that were like cleaned out and kind of help keep it properly, I think, cohesive and defensible.
Yeah.
And other things added, but not overly so. Anyway, it's just damn high quality. I mean,
thank you, man.
As I read it, I'm like, oh, this is. I don't want to sound weird. This book is at a logic point and a defensibility point as a thesis. It's better than the Bitcoin standard. It's better than it's better than broken money. It's not that those didn't have a lot of good points and all that. It's just that this is built upon base for an indefensible argument. And then the paradigm of that, if you are a reader and you're a kind of reader that's willing to invest some time and intelligence in assimilating what it's saying there, and you say it up front, but then you build it and build it and build it. And anyway, long story short, the paradigm is much bigger than what you read, where it's like, oh, it's commodity. It's a commodity. Money is a commodity here. But what about this? Okay, well, it's a credit model here. Okay, well, what about this? Well, yeah, it's always statism throughout. Right. Yeah, but what about before the state? Well, yeah, but there had to be money. And it's like, well, what about? But what? This is like, all of those have their pieces that fit, and they all relate to each other and intersect. And sometimes they don't. But all of that fits with one core arc of the system involved, that is an administration function of legibility and resource management and population management, and ultimately a kind of extractionary state theory of money. And so then you look at what we have now from that lens, and instead of being like Bitcoin this way or that way, or number go up or down, or what's fiat going to do, and or all those cages coming around, on ramps, off ramps about Bitcoin, yada yada, you can see it as like, it's the same old system doing what it's going to do. Now, what exactly is it going to do? We can't completely predict, but you get what they do generally, and it's always been the same game.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Universal basic extraction. So anyway, I have yet to like finish the final version, but I'm going to try to finish it this weekend. Anyway, it's just stellar. So
Oh, thank you, man. That is huge praise. And I mean, as someone who I very much respect in terms of Bitcoin thinking, and just you're literate in all the Bitcoin literature and stuff like that, that means a lot. So thank you. But yeah, that it's been sort of a change for me as well, just in writing it, because like, you know, the way I kind of look at things and the way and especially a lot of the arguments I see about Bitcoin, like, and it's probably coming through in like podcasts like this, where I'm just like, I don't know if any of this shit really matters all that much, right? Like I get why people are upset about it. I get why people get all bent out of shape about these things, and I kind of go like, there's other stuff going on here, but in terms of the way our society is created right now, like I don't see a way where you get around like how, like if you just think about the enormous amount of coordination that occurs on a daily basis, almost seamlessly, right? Like our business in particular with MicroSeed, we can just order shit from people we never meet, we'll never know. I don't even know their names. I don't know what they look like. I don't know if they got kids. I don't know if they have a dog. I don't know if they're, you know, got purple hair. I know nothing about them. I know nothing about their operations. I just know that they make parts for us, and we get these parts, and like about 500 people in that chain handle all of this shit along the way. They load it into a box. They put labels on things. They put things onto a pallet. That pallet gets picked up by somebody else. And behind that somebody else are like 10 other people that are navigating like all the different fucking customs regulations and the shipping and the logistics. And then somehow that little thing from this person I've never met goes from a factory in Taiwan onto a ship, onto a plane, onto another port. It crosses like multiple jurisdictions, and it just shows up at my door. And then I can then package that up by, you know, these thousands of other pieces of thing that come into play in terms of like where I get my boxes, where I get my bags, where I get my labels, where I get my computer to navigate all this shit. All this stuff is coordinated by one simple thing: money. Underneath it all, you go like, how did all that happen? Because of money.
money.
Right. So you go, well, let's get rid of money. I go, whoa, well, how is he going to coordinate all this shit? How else are you going to get people to do all this stuff in concert across the globe? It's just a remarkable sort of setup we have, right? So when you look at it that way, you go, okay, well, the whole world is being coordinated under this monetary logic, which is, I think, rooted in the administration of obligations and coordination of tasks and dues and all this kind of stuff. And somewhere in the middle of that, the people that set all this shit up take as they go. And part of that is because they need to provision themselves. And part of it is because there's ways to exploit this. But somewhere in the middle of this is like the core thing that we kind of need, right? Like we don't exist without this coordination technology, but it's also obvious that it gets exploited on the margins, right? So you go, well, that's the part that we need to be focused on, not like, you know, smash the state or not like, you know, fix the managers or something like that. It's like, well, what is the friction and where is that little, and that's why I talk about Bitcoin as a friction all the time. I go, there's a huge friction in this massively complex coordination game that's happening on a daily basis. And so if we have a way to kind of like tweak that in our favor, we go, yeah, let's fucking run with that, because otherwise it gets kind of dark if you don't have that kind of stuff, right?
If you don't have friction against friction against the legibility and the
right
or the censorship or the lack of sovereignty. It's friction against this extractive system.
Yeah, exactly, man. And Bitcoin is like a huge thing in that. It's just like it blows my mind the more I think about it. I go, God, dude, if you just think about like what we've created, because like you said, the internet changed everything. But without the internet, there's no Bitcoin. If you think about cryptography, you think about the cypherpunks, if you think about them kind of focus so hard on like privacy and anonymity and things like that, like in an increasingly digital age, like this becomes very important. We should think about this. But without them, there's also no Bitcoin. But now with Bitcoin, you kind of get this neat mix of that, like, well, there's privacy, there's anonymity, there's property rights, there's transaction, you know, like free and clear transaction, black market transactions. All of this is instantiated in this one little protocol that we can just have, you know? And right now people are just like, number go up. And I'm like, dude, but don't you see there's like this enormous like friction layer that's been introduced into the world? Man, we should really pay attention to that. We should really like explore that on a deep level. And I think it would be helpful if people better understood how a monetary system works or where it comes from, because I think that becomes more salient. I think that becomes more
Yeah.
coherent as a through line. You go, oh yeah, this really does matter. Like, this isn't just a trivial thing. This isn't just some fucking magic internet money, some little token. It's like, this is a big deal in a 12,000-year-old game, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know, but thank you so much for reading it, man. I appreciate that. And I'm really, really excited to be able to share it with everybody and kind of get the book out there and finally get through all this, whatever, you know, happens with Palgrave or Anthem or whoever ends up publishing it. But
Yeah. And then, and from the book, it can be distilled and translated in messaging into perpetuity in terms of, translating it for people that, like, say people are really in, I know a lot of people that say are, and I fall into this sometimes myself when I'm busy or distracted and I only have so much time and all the things. And it's like, oh, I'm all in on the idea. But then if I get the book and I start reading it, and or so say it's like Mises or something, Menger, Seyfedin's like Principles of Economics. I'm all in and interested. And then I start to read and it's like, okay, if it's a little dense and I'm a little tired, man, I just, takes some investment.
right.
So there are people that are gonna, for one, there's gonna be a hunger for the thesis. There'll be an epiphany for people of like, oh, if they can get at least that first little bit of it, and it turns that corner for them in terms of like, oh, it's not just coincidence of wants or the old things, the Adam Smith things, or the Keynesian things. Okay, it covers this big, broad concept, and if they get that at all, it's going to be like, whoa, it shifts the paradigm.
Yeah.
Now, is everyone going to like, so there's way more Bitcoiners than there are people who like read the Bitcoin Standard or read,
Yeah.
like or you have it on your shelf, but you didn't read all of it, or maybe you didn't start it,
Right.
but you have the book and you totally get it.
Right.
But anyway, so with the book, it's that tomb of a foundation that is quite defensible, I should say, and from which academically stands its ground. On top of that, and forever, is translations and explanations and talk and culture around what it all means. And then, so when I see all the scuttle, like we spent, the first half hour or so on the podcast talking about, the headlines and the drama and the gossip and the things and stuff that like captures attention. I find it like infotainment in a way, but all that passion and the disagreement and the whatever, even the angst or whatever, it's because people, as they start to pay attention, they're still kind of looking for where the hooks are, but they care. They know shit's broken and they care, and they're like, well, what's the fix and how do we do that? And we want to fix it. So the passion and the care is there. People are looking for the fix, but it's just kind of this soup of chaotic, like navigating all this because we're like these awkward teenagers doing it all. Yeah. And yet, propaganda and all the things and disagreements churn, but Bitcoin does remain. Where my hope is that at least people are paying attention enough to care, or even paying attention enough to get rug pulled. It's all just kind of like, well, people got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's all going to a good place, I think. So
I think so too, man. Like I despite it all, I still remain bullish for the future, just because of like, I have an appreciation for kind of where we came from and where we are. And, and I mean, if you just kind of fold gratitude into the mix more generally, and you kind of go like, I mean, regardless of how religious or not you are, I think there's a certain benefit to like kind of humbling yourself before God and just saying like, hey, this is pretty neat, man. Like, I get to exist in a pretty unique and interesting time, and it's not always comfortable and it's not always perfect. But, I'm not being forced at whip point to carry blocks up to make a temple, right? Like things have gotten better since then. So that's kind of a plus. And we're now getting to an age of understanding where you can do things like, oh, well, like the guy who was forced at whip point to carry a block up to make a temple was also forced to eat like porridge and mush and couldn't eat very good food. But I can actually choose.
You fall behind in your debts or whatever, and it's like, giving your daughter up is a literal fix for that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh man, I'm in debt.
We'll take your daughter
Yeah.
or your wife or your entire family, work it off in a year, you might be free again.
Yeah.
Or wait for the next Jubilee.
Exactly. Well, they'll get set free sooner or later. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we'll take good care of them, I promise. I mean, yeah. So like, and that can still happen to some people in the world, but the thing is, I think we're getting to a place where opportunity is growing, not shrinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And despite it feeling tight and feeling weird, it's because a lot of these old logics just aren't working very well in the modern era, because there's too many places for people to abuse it. There's too many places for people to navigate and get free. And then there's way too many mechanisms to make it so most people can't. But I think people are going to start reconciling that better, and I think things like Bitcoin help on one level, but that right now is helping a very select few people. I hope that spreads to more people. And I see that happening on some levels. Unfortunately, I also see a lot of it's tied around price and, shit coining and suit coining and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, but even beyond Bitcoin, you go, well, there's all this other stuff that's also happening. It's also because of the fiat system, and partly against the fiat system and partly, strengthening the fiat system. It's like, I think we're headed to a place where things will, I just don't see the cliff coming where everything falls apart and everyone dies. And we go to Mad Max land for, until the bright orange future comes in to save everybody. It's like, I kind of see more of like a sort of uneven kind of progress, right? Rather than like a collapse and the fourth turning and all this sort of, rebirth and whatever. It's like, well, or maybe we just kind of keep doing the same thing we've been doing for 10,000 years, except now it's better. Like I don't have to, like I said, I don't have to quarry a block and push it with a mule while some guy with a whip tells me to go faster. So.
Yeah. And it was minor little point in your book you made at one point was, at one level it's like, we're, put it in perspective. Things are good now because we're not slaves like we were. Yep. But but imagine like in the future and people look back on the concept of what you put in, clock out time wise for what you produced and how much you produced for what you got. And over time, how much time you're putting in at what capability, for what, just a large chunk of your entire life. And looking back on that and being like, is that slavery?
Yeah.
sort of. I mean, I'm simplifying the point, but
yeah.
In the future, they could look back on stuff here now and be like, damn, man, they were really stuck in that fiat epoch for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, like the thing you were talking about is there's a lady, I think her name is Karev, K-A.
Yeah.
She's talking about Egypt, ancient Egypt, and that she said a lot of those debt contracts, like where people would sell themselves into servitude, weren't to like clear a debt. It was part of like a patronage arrangement, right? But the point I wrote at the end of that was like, well, 5,000 years from now, some historian might look back on our time and be like, oh, well, look at all these poor people that sold themselves into slavery because they were slaves. And it's like, but we don't look at it that way. We wouldn't be like, I'm not a slave. I just go to work, right? And I get paid these little pieces of paper, and those little pieces of paper give me the rights to go buy food and cars and fucking, orange hats and whatever. But somewhere 5,000 years from now, when, Star Trek land is here and everyone's like, beaming around in fucking, spaceships or whatever, they might look back and go, man, look how all these people sold themselves into indentured servitude for their whole life so they could finally get set free after 30 years of toiling.
There have been a handful of Star Trek episodes where something involving like they either meet a new civilization that looks really close to what like America was back in the 60s or in the 80s or whatever, or they literally travel back in time and are interfacing with what we consider to be normal, and they're looking around going, like, you have to do that, or like you people are stuck and don't even see it.
Right.
But they're happy and they're like, oh no, yeah, I do this. You got to put in so many hours in a week, and then they take the money from you. And then when you buy stuff, they take the money from you. And then at the end of the year, you still have to pay stuff. And then, and it's just like, oh, okay. Like, this is okay. Oh, it's normal.
Yeah. This is just what we do.
It's actually good. Numbers go up. The numbers keep going up. See, numbers went up.
I still have stuff. I still eat every day. I still have fresh water. So I don't know, man.
And that said, some of my field work that I'm doing for myself is cleaning out an old horse barn shed that I had, thinking about shelving and maybe a roost. And I'm like, maybe in a year I'll get the chickens. I might. Ooh. I've had chickens before, and then life got busy and we moved and stuff. But I was like, I might get some chickens. I don't know. Yeah. Like just a little something. And even planting stuff. Yeah. Like I've got a big backyard that's, irrigated and stuff. And it's like lawn that I got to mow every couple of weeks. And it looks nice, but it's like, okay, just the water for what? Beautiful hill, all this stuff. It's like, why wouldn't I make some terraces here and there? The water plumbing is there. Plant some stuff. Polycrop something.
Polycrop.
I mean, it's south facing. It's on a hill. It's south facing. Sun all day. Water there. I could just reconfigure some of that. It would, and with some soil additive or a compost or whatever. I mean, the soil's okay, dude. I have a back hill garden just sitting there that's growing grass.
Yeah. Well, dude, but that's the thing is, like, if you look at like polycroppers around the world, there's a really neat researcher in England who was studying polycropping for a long time because, modern agriculture is all about like rows of monocultures, right? And the polycropping guy was like, I think you guys have underestimated like what farmers have been figuring out for the last 12,000 years. Like, you guys think like, oh, well, the way we do this is we put one crop here, we kill everything else, and then we treat that thing because it's vulnerable now, because it's a single crop, it's all vulnerable to all kinds of disease. So we do all these other scientific methods to blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, for the last 12,000 years, people that have been growing shit were just kind of like, hey, I noticed Tom came over last week and he said he planted corn next to this kind of particular flower. Turns out the corn came up really great and the flowers did really well, but then it attracted these other things that made it so we could grow a fruit tree, and I don't have to water any of this. It's kind of neat. And I can use the leaves from the corn plant to make these other things that I use to make my roof or this or that. I mean, it's like, so they find all these ways of just like mixing these different plants together. So they all kind of like cohere into its own little ecosystem where it keeps the pests away. Certain diseases like do really well against one kind of plant, but the other plants just seem to do fine. You always have this like repeated harvest of food that's always a little bit different. You don't have the same thing over and over again. And it just kind of like sustains itself because it's easy to do, right?
Yeah.
You're just sort of like modifying nature to work in your favor, And when you start thinking about the world that way, because like even now, like if I go to my mom's house, she's got, a garden and it's got like rows of fucking lettuce and then rows of this and it's like there's ways to do this where you actually don't have to go out there and hire the guy to come by every week to pull the weeds, and you don't have to spray the stuff so the bugs don't show up, and you can just do these neat little tricks. It's all like James C. Scott, it's Against the Grain, and his other book, he talks about this a lot, but it's fascinating thing to think about because you go, yeah, like when you have a setup like yours, you go, yeah, I could just make like a permanent food source here. And with a permanent food source, you're literally printing money, like without any exaggeration at all. You go, well, every year I have X amount of corn, X amount of okra, X amount of whatever. It just comes up. I got beans, I got this, I got potatoes, I got fucking sweet potatoes, yams, whatever. And it's all just kind of there, and it's always just sort of showing up. So I get this really healthy organic food that is just naturally grown. It's nice and fibrous. It's not artificial fucking weird hybrid fucking plants and all this kind of stuff. And I just have stuff for my family that I don't have to pay for. And I don't really have to tend it because it's just growing there. So it's like, that's a fucking ATM machine in your backyard. Like if you can cut your grocery bill in half, you go, that's huge. Never mind if you can cut your grocery bill down like 3/4 just because like, hey, I've got this abundance, this little cornucopia of this thing that looks like an overgrown mess to anybody who doesn't know what they're looking at. But to me, I can see like, oh, that's the thing I use to make rope. That's the thing I use to make thatching for the chicken coop. That's the thing I use to make for this. That's where my chickens peck and pluck, and this is where this, and that's where the chicken poop goes here, and this, and this all little ecosystem works where I just get eggs all the time. I got fucking fruit and this and that, and it's just awesome. It's like everything, dude.
Yeah, and the corn and then tomatoes and peas and cucumbers like each other.
Yeah.
They like each other,
Yeah.
like being neighbors, and the nitrogen in the soil and the shade from the things and just who knows what the vegetable vibe they got. There's science and magic to it. I had to look this up. Against the Grain, James C. Scott.
Yeah, he's passed away now, but Against the Grain is a lot of the legibility stuff that he talks about and kind of fleshed out, informs a lot of the stuff that I wrote about in my book. But the other one is Seeing Like a State, and that's the one where he talks about a lot about polycropping, and because he talks about grain agriculture a ton, but this he actually specifically mentions the polycropping guy in England who is kind of a genius, man. He's a pretty neat dude. So I don't know. Definitely worth looking into, I would say.
Yeah. Part of my last couple of weeks, what I call it, ontological shock thing I was alluding to, because I step back and think about, and I don't know what it is. I think it's spring comes, so the sunshine and everything, my brain gets to thinking about, like, what can I be doing or plans for the year, like actually balancing out my time for stuff that I got to take care of, stuff for life, family, my yard, whatever. Sun's out, I get to thinking, I get to working, I feel better. I'm literally sore. I was out last night late working, like carrying stuff, moving stuff. It's like, man, I'm out of shape. Like I should do this more often. Like what? Be productive with your hands. What a concept. And then at the same time, paying taxes or thinking about the things, getting over ego around Bitcoin stuff, and then looking at my yard and my old horse shed barn, going, what am I doing just sitting on this? And I used to garden. I used to have chickens. Why did I stop doing that? Well, young kids, career, family, fiat monkey brainness, post-divorce, all these things. It's like, it's been 10 years and I'm still kind of doing what I was doing, short of having become a Bitcoiner.
Wow.
I'm doing what I was doing 10 years ago when I basically survived a divorce and was just like, career, money, survival, get the kids to college. Oh, what do you know? I got remarried. Oh, what do you know? I got another kid, a new house, another car. And then I had this moment, my rambling on about myself here, where like a week ago and 2 weeks ago, I took after a lot of hard push and hustle and working and thinking, and then I had a break, and we traveled to see my dad who was sick, and you slow down for a moment, you take things in, you're thinking about like, what do we do about dad? Or what do we do when dad's gone? And then there's my mom too. And then things, and I get home and I was just like, what am I doing? Like I'm turning 50 this year. And when I turned 40, I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm 40. I'm 40 and divorced. And I think I've survived, but I'm like in post-traumatic stress mode. Right. But I got a new career. So I'm sticking to this path that is going to keep me safe. And then its number go up. And now 10 years later, I find myself, maybe it's this decimal round number contemplation about a midlife thing. And it's like, I'm turning 50, good about Bitcoin. I've got new foundations. A lot has changed. Maybe I'm wiser. But what am I doing? What am I doing? And it's just a balance to reconcile. But part of that has been, maybe nothing crazy here, but maybe a few chickens, and maybe I'll garden like I hadn't done for 12 years I guess.
Yeah. I think it's
why haven't I? Well, just been busy.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, where did that time go? Fiat shit career hustle.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
did it
awful.
pay me? Yeah. Am I just older and more like worn out? Yeah. Huh. Was that worth it?
Nope.
Kind
Well,
of.
maybe,
Well, I don't know. I got to think about it.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
At least we found Bitcoin. We found each other. We're doing this.
Yeah.
We're doing this. So
A little bit of El Salvador.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
$7,000 hat.
Well, that was another thing. So El Salvador. So there's this it's
really
wild,
does.
surreal,
Yeah.
Johnny, when you're like, why is my I found eyebrow hair that's gray now. It's like I'm getting gray in my eyebrows. What the hell?
Yeah.
Anyway, Murph's Life is a follow on X that they have a farm and community garden kind of thing, and very, very charitable organization and family in El Salvador. You can follow Murph's Life on X, and they're on. Oh shit, Johnny! I thought you were 30 or something.
Yeah.
We're still young at heart. They show pictures of their polycrop style farm, community visit stuff, and their charity, their soil, just literal pictures of here's our soil, and it's just rich, thick layers of nice volcanic soil with organics and stuff that have grown over years on it. And they grow anything. They're like, plant it and it'll grow. And then with that, with a plan, they have things in like some rows, but they're kind of like polycrop terraced rows. And then trees and fruit and then community. And it's like, damn, that I just love the vision about it. So,
Oh yeah. Well, there's so many like opportunities, and that's why I'm still bullish about the future. I mean, I'm getting kind of old too, but as long as God willing health stays, then man, there's all kinds of neat shit you can do these days, and you see more and more of these guys that are like 85 years old and still doing pull-ups and fucking burpees and all this shit. It's like, yeah, why shouldn't I just be that guy, right? Like that old paradigm of like, work hard, grow old, sit in your chair, watch fucking Mannix until you die. It's kind of like, well, I probably don't have to do that anymore. Like I can just like keep exercising, and I can keep stretching, and I can keep eating well, and I can not turn into a alcoholic, and I can, enjoy time with friends and family, and I can go travel and see things. And like, why not take advantage of all the fiat miracles that we've managed to create for ourselves? Like, why just be beholden to it? Why not enjoy it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently. Holy shit, dude. You really 64, Johnny?
Neuroplasticity. I know I'm aiming to maintain my neuroplasticity. Bitcoin did, in a way. It really it's one less rut in my mind where even just emotionally or cognitively or frame of mind, instead of feeling like, well, things just are what they are and it's kind of just a black pill. And if I'm really engaged and paying attention, how pissed off am I? Like, if you're not pissed off, you're not paying attention. And so Bitcoin kind of helps short circuit all that, where it's like I'm paying attention and I can see it for what it is, and I'm not captured by it. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, so there's that. So I'm going to make life good and fix all that. So
yeah, why not?
Anyway.
On that note, well, congratulations on making it to 65. That's pretty
65,
good run.
almost 65. Wow.
Yeah. I'm rounding the bend. I'm 56 this year, so I'm kind of a little, But I mean, oddly enough, through all the years, like people go, "Oh, how does it feel to be this or that?" I go, like, I don't, knock wood. Like I should count my blessings here, but I don't feel any different today than I did when I was 25, dude. I really don't. Like, I mean, people go, "Oh, I'm more stiff here, more stiff there." I go, "Yeah, like maybe on the margins I might notice, but then I think about like what I was like when I was in my 20s versus what I was like in my 30s and 40s, and you kind of go, man, it's not like there was some time when everything was great, and then this other time when it started to decline, and now there's this time where it sucks worse than it did when it was then. It was kind of like, well, this time was pretty good, and I was really into this, and then it kind of got really bad because I was doing some really dumb shit, and then it got really good, and then it got kind of bad again, then it kind of floated around here for a while, then it really started to kind of take a tank, but now it's getting back up again. So it's kind of like, I don't feel like there's this arc of just, like, and I always assume there was, like, you go, oh, well, you're young and everything's plastic and you're just sort of like bendy and you can just do whatever. But I go, well, when I was a kid, I was like a couch potato and I didn't give a shit about exercise and any of this kind of stuff. So I was probably in worse shape when I was 18 than I am now, so it's kind of like, so you go, well, how do you feel? I go, kind of the same, like, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, I don't really notice any, like, there are things, it's not that nothing has changed. Like I go, somehow I have to trim my nose hair more often than any other.
Oh, that's another thing. The hair that's growing. I'm just like, God dang my ears. Like, do I have to shave every other day?
Yeah. Like, what is this? Like, why is this the only thing? Like, why couldn't other things be growing like this?
Yeah.
Come on. But but other than that, you go, well, but my knee hurts sometimes. I go, yeah, well, that hurt when I was 25 because I was running 10 miles a day.
Yeah.
So is this like an age thing, or is this just an abuse when I was 25 thing that's just been there ever since? So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
I had a knee that would ache and ache and ache through my late 30s into 40s, and then I just started changing what I did a little bit, and it just went away. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, lifestyle and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're only as old as the woman you feel, I guess. I don't know. That's a joke. Mentally youthful.
Yeah. Mentally youthful. I mean, that, like Michael Jordan from the Bitcoin Way actually said something I thought was really nice last year. Because we were sitting around dinner at the steak place, and he's like, how old are you, dude? And I was like, I'm 55, or maybe I was 54 at the time. He's like, Jesus Christ, you were like the youngest 54-year-old I've ever met in my life. I'm like, awesome. Thanks, man. That's great, dude. I love the sound of that. The only thing I don't like these days, like up until my 40s, people are like, oh my God, you're 48. Oh my God, I thought you were like 30. Nowadays, it's like, yeah, I'm 55. And like, yeah. It's like, what happened to the, oh my God, I thought you were like 35. Like that's all gone. Like, apparently I just look like 55 now. So that kind of sucks, but
I don't know how old I look. I think if I shaved clean, I got a lot of gray in my hair, but I could pass for younger. But I wonder. So I say, oh yeah, I'm 50, and people would be like, yeah, probably right, or maybe like, I thought you were 60.
Yeah,
cranky old bastard.
Yeah, that's the part I'm really worried about. Is like when I start going 55, they go, oh, you're only 55.
My wife tells me all the time. I'll get on some tear or talking about stuff or cranky, or usually I get home from work and I'm just like, you wouldn't believe, I had to collect like literally yesterday I had to collect about a half gallon of drug toxified piss. Oh my God, just the variety of smells of pee when it's in a cup and it's at arm's length, and yet you can smell the asparagus and whatever. You're just like, oh my God, this is my job. And then you collect it, dip it, send it to the lab, have these conversations about, well, you feeling done yet? Jail's still open, blah, blah, and all. And so, and I get home having collected half a gallon of piss, and it's like, how was your day? And I'm like, I could talk about it or
not.
Just be like, fine. But my wife will say, my point being, my wife will be like, when I do get cranky or I'm just like, this fucking job, she'll be like, God, you're just like my dad. And I'll realize like, I am just like her dad, who's not that much older than me, which is weird. And also, I'm getting to be a cranky old man if I don't filter it. And then, so for my wife to be like, I'm married to my dad, I'm like, maybe I should shut up and
saying anything about that.
Shut up and color.
Yeah, shut up.
I'm gonna go garden.
Going out to fix
hip replacement.
Yeah. Good grief, Johnny. You're gonna be $6 million man.
Holy. Well, there's that. I know. I've avoided anything like that for so far.
Knock wood.
But anyway. Whoa. Well, yeah, it's been a good talk. I think we solved a lot of things.
Yeah, we solved the world's problems as usual. Yeah,
the world 101.
Well, good luck with that surgery, man. Be safe.
Yeah. I was just talking to my dad. He needs surgery here next month too, and just getting old. But well, with that, the entire world system of money 101, episode 101. We did it.
And a new backdrop.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you got a new studio. You're in a new spot. Nice setup.
Yeah, thank you. I haven't decided if I'm gonna put those Bitcoin letters back up. I don't know how to dress this up.
Yeah, you got the means to not have to have it balanced. It can just be hooked.
Yeah, exactly. No, it could look nice. I don't know. Maybe put my little twinkly lights back up again, and maybe I'll just put a bunch of like miners and shit back here.
Yeah, you could hang miners or hang, whatever the hell you want. Yeah, it's nice flat screen.
Yeah, put my little future bit right here. That guy from Crypto Cloaks finally sent me my miner. I don't know if you remember from last year.
Oh, yeah.
I gave him a MicroSeed, and I was
I'll
give you a MicroSeed for a miner. He's like, okay, yeah, send me your address. And then I was like, you were gonna send this thing? He's like, I tried to reach you. I'm like, yeah, well, I tried to reach you too. Here's my address again. He's like, okay. And then nothing. I was like, okay, I guess I'm not getting a miner. But then it showed up. He's like, I always keep my word. I'm like, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Like last month, like that's like a year later, dude. All right, cool, whatever. Hey, and Bitcoin Vegas coming up. So if you're gonna be there,
that's right.
Stop by the MicroSeed booth in the Bitcoin Bazaar. We'll be slinging MicroSeeds at a steep discount, probably.
Steep discount on MicroSeed at Bitcoin Vegas. If you don't mind the suits and the corpse and all that.
Yeah. And the senators and the vice presidents and the security details and all the weird shit.
Yeah, it'll be kind of it's Vegas. It's always a little surreal that way, but hey, I also know of a lot of good Bitcoiners going too. And so just because
it'll be fun. Yeah.
Cool. All right. We'll wrap it up, everybody. Thanks for joining.
See you, Johnny. Good to see you. Good luck on Monday.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Oh yeah. Hey.
Oh shit. What?
A wizard is never too late.
Tornado, dude.
Tornado. Yeah, he posted about that. Survived a mini tornado out there.
Oh God, dude. Welcome to Missouri.
Yeah, that's some of the Midwest areas can get just randomly knocked.
Yeah.
So, cool. Good to see y'all. We'll catch you next time. Bye. MicroSeed is the best way to take self-custody. One single MicroSeed kit allows you to stamp as many seed phrases as you want. MicroSeed comes with stainless steel washers, a titanium washer, and even a nylon washer. And you can fit all 12 or 24 words on one single washer. And with promo code FRITZ, you'll get 5% off your order. Get the kit and crank out all the keys you'll ever need forever.